I'm Charlie Bright of Gold Derby, and today I am speaking with two of the people behind the Oscar shortlisted animated short film War is Over. I have the writer and director, co-writer and director, Dave Mullins, and the producer Brad Booker with us. Thank you for joining us. My first question is to you, Dave. How did you get connected with Sean Lennon, who you wrote this with?
Yeah, it's a funny story. I mean, I was at Pixar for 20 years and made a lot of friends there, obviously. But one of my friends from Pixar called me up and said, "Hey, I know Sean through some connection because they're all in the music sort of industry together." And he said, Sean's been looking for a writer and director to do a project for his parents' song, "Happy Christmas, War is Over." And would you be interested in talking to him? I'm like, yeah, that sounds awesome. So we met, and I kind of went into it a little bit like, okay, it's a music video. I'm a narrative writer, director. What's this? What I didn't know what this was going to be, and obviously the song is such a big part of the culture. It plays every year. It's a perennial sort of holiday song. And I really quickly, after meeting Sean, I realized that he wanted to do a narrative story with this. So, that's really great because and he even said, this is all about the message of the song and what my parents were trying to say. And the most important thing is that we get the message of what my parents were trying to say every year, because the song is really interesting in that they purposely wrote a holiday song, but inside the song, they put a very strong anti-war message in, and they knew that if they did it right, it would be playing every year and everybody would be hearing this message of peace every year at Christmas. And so I just, that was just, because I still, I was thinking of going into it, I was like, oh, is this going to be a Christmas thing? This is a Christmas song? But he's like, no, this is really a anti-war song. And that's when I got really excited. I'm like, okay, let's talk about what that is. Like, we have so much division in the world right now. So many people just so convinced that they hate each other. And, really, I think, for me personally and for Sean and Brad, like this idea that we're not all that different. If you just sit down and talk to people, you're going to find that you probably have a lot more in common with people than you think. And so that was really the genesis of this idea when Sean and I started talking about the story and kind of roughly coming up with this, what it could be.
And to put a timestamp on it, it was actually like right before the Ukraine war broke out. So this would have been late 2021.
Summer, yeah.
Yeah.
It was like May 2021.
But you could feel the tension building. And then, obviously, as the year progressed, it built up more. And then it kind of led us into, like the second chapter of this thing, which was bringing Peter Jackson and WETA into it.
Well, actually, that segues right into my next question. That's for you, Brad. How did Peter Jackson and WETA become a part of this, and what sort of things did WETA FX bring to the look of the movie?
Yeah, so we actually had met with Sean for the first time in person in Northern California, which is where Dave lives. So I flew up there. He picked me up. We drove out to where Sean was staying, and we thought we were going to do a quick 1 hour meeting with him or whatever and touch base, and it turned into a 24-hour meeting and hanging out with him at his Airbnb. And through that whole thing at dinner that night, we started texting with Peter because Peter and Sean had worked together on Get Back just months before. So that relationship had started, and at the time we were really trying to build a company that specializes in using a real-time workflow. So we use the Unreal Engine for this, and that led us into like, hey, like WETA might be perfect for this. They're doing stuff, they've got a special division that we knew about that specializes in this real-time workflow. And we started texting with Peter, and then next thing you know, that we wake up the next morning and he's like, I want to get on with you guys on a Zoom call. So the very next day on Saturday, we were on a 2-hour call with Peter, Claire, his producer, and David Connolly, the head of WETA. And at that point, the Ukraine war was in like its second week. So the timing was like, Peter was just like, look, we are all in on this. Like, you know, John Yoko's message is something that has stood the test of time and is more needed now than ever. So count us in. And, you know, he and David basically put the weight of WETA behind it, and the rest is kind of history.
And Dave, what made? Oh no, please, yeah.
I was just going to follow up because you were also asking about the look of it. Did you want to talk about
Yes,
that
please.
Yeah, and you know, we so we're, you know, Brad and I are Electro League, and this is our studio that we're, you know, launching right now with this film. And like Brad was saying, you know, we're very invested in the real-time pipeline because we want to get right to script, onto stage, right into edit as quickly as possible, and have that really iterative filmmaking process as quickly as possible. But as far as the look of it, you know, we have close friends. Max Narciso was our character designer for the film, and he's a phenomenal character designer who's like very sought after in the industry. And Zach Retz was our production designer, he worked on Spider-Verse and a lot of different projects, and he is just another incredible talent that we're lucky to work with. And you know, for me, it was really important that we made a film and a setting and production design that said, this isn't a war. This isn't World War I. This is, you know, England on one side and Germany on the other, whatever it is. We wanted this to be a statement about every war. And so what we tasked Max and Zach with is, I was like, you know, we want to do something that's a World War I alternative setting. So it feels like World War I, but it's not necessarily. Because we didn't want this to be about, oh, you know, this country and that country. We wanted this to be about humans fighting, people fighting. And so, you know, if you look at our casting, we tried to be very diverse in our casting so that like everybody as best we could be represented in this. So everybody can look at it and go, oh, there's me, there's me, there's me. But, you know, to put it in that World War I alternate sort of history, I am in love, you know, we both are in love with Norman Rockwell. So, you know, for Max and his character designs, like take a look at Norman, look at his compositions, look at his character. And then for Zach, you know, I come from a painting background. I studied at Rhode Island School of Design, and J.C. Leindecker is an artist from the era that I have just been obsessed with forever. And so we wanted to combine those two looks and get that look on screen. And WETA was incredible because they would take Max and Zach's designs and they got it on screen. I mean, a lot of Zach's paintings for the skies are actual skies in the film. So his paintings went right onto screen. We put them right on the characters, and WETA was phenomenal at taking Zach's production design and really nailing it on screen, not straying from it, but really like taking it and elevating it. So for us, that look was really important to be somewhat era specific, but also, you know, sort of these love letters to these two artists that we love.
And actually, that's actually brings me to my segues kind of into my next question. What made you decide on setting it in a World War I setting with that time and that aesthetic? What led to that decision?
Well, I mean, it really comes back down to the pigeon, who we nicknamed Icarus, which is, I know, silly, but the pigeon, so what we wanted to do is like, the question was, when Sean and I were talking about the story in the early days, how do we get two sides of a conflict, two soldiers on either side of a conflict, to connect and not really know that they're connecting, because they don't know who, you know, it's the one ask we had of the film is like, can we just get the audience to accept that they've started playing this game of chess and they don't know each other? However that's happened. That's the one big, you get one big ask for film per film, and that's the big ask that we asked of the audience. So we're like, okay, how would you do that? And how would you connect them? And we need an innocent, which is the pigeon, to be part of this. And so as we were talking through that, it's like, well, you know, chess is a great metaphor for war, obviously, and then you have the carrier pigeon carrying that message back and forth. You get invested in that character who's really our hero. So the carrier pigeon is really what put us in that World War I setting, because you can't really do it like, you know, if you pick other wars, like that's where the carrier pigeons were a big part of it. So that story element, that character was really a big part of why we set it into that World War I alternative.
Yeah, and it's that us and them thing that in the end becomes we, you know, which beckons back to Yoko's, you know, famous all white chess set. Like there aren't two sides, it's all us. So that's really what the whole theme of the short was about.
And Brad, you know, I was, you know, watching the credits of the movie. I was very pleasantly surprised to see that the score was composed by Thomas Newman, and I was wondering how did having him do the score help enhance the short?
I mean, that's an easy one. It's Thomas Newman. Like you can't, like he's magic. He's a beautiful human being on top of it. He's just the nicest guy on the planet, you know, no ego, you know, just once he saw it, you know, like everybody else that has gotten on board with this, you know, we had WETA, and then Lightstorm let us come down, and we shot principal capture on the Avatar stage. But, you know, as far as Tom's concerned, you know, we connected with his agent. His agent loved it. He's like, don't worry, he's going to want to do this. And he'd never done a short film before. You know, the guy's been nominated for 15 Oscars, and you know,
never won. What? You know.
Yeah, but anyway, we keep telling him that one of these days we're gonna make him something. But yeah, no, you know, once he saw it, he was in, and from day one. And when we met him, he just, you know, he's at every turn, the guy has been there for this short and backed it with all the other big stuff he's working on. He's just never said no to this project. So
yeah,
we feel so grateful.
And, you know, from early on, you know, you kind of get tone pieces that you listen to, like, you know, what are other scores you're listening to that are listening the same feeling? And, you know, for us, you know, Road to Perdition actually had a lot of that era specific, but not, you know, what you would expect. So, you know, there's a couple pieces that he did. He did Road to Chicago was one of the tracks off of there, and the other one was it's Road to Chicago and
Rock Island, Illinois, isn't it?
It might have been Rock Island, yeah. There's a couple, and for me, like that's always like emotionally, you know, like Uilleann pipes and everything in there, which is incredible, that his choice of instrumentation. So I knew from day one, like Tom would be the perfect guy for this, and we were just trying to figure out how to do that. And you know, we were so lucky to get him, because he scores with you know, I know many composers do this, but he's not really thematic as much as he is emotion. And like when we had our conversations about what the score should be, we were really talking about what the emotion was, and he's just such a genius at that. We were very lucky to have him.
Not only that, he knew he had this task at hand of landing the plane or setting us up for that beautiful moment where John's voice comes in the song. So, you know, we had some great conversations around that, and he really respected that, felt the weight and the burden of having to do that, but of course delivered it, you know, effortlessly. So we feel very lucky.
And Dave, so I mentioned that the short has made the Oscar shortlist for Best Animated Short Film. What was it like finding out that the film had made the Oscar shortlist?
Incredible, of course. I mean, to, you know, be in a group of 96 other really amazing films, and to be pulled out of that list as into that group of 15 other filmmakers is kind of indescribable. Yeah, it's a sort of a surreal moment, and you know, it's kind of a humbling, it's not kind of, it's very humbling, and you know, for Brad and I, we put everything into this, you know, we put our financially and otherwise, and to know that the effort that we put into this film and the effort that the crew has put into this film, because our crew has gone above and beyond for this, you know, we're, even though we've got like WETA and Thomas Newman and, you know, Lightstorm, like, it's like, oh, you guys are like stacked. It's like, well, no, actually just us, we have our own money in this, and we've believed in this so much, we put our own asses on the line for this film. So to get that recognition, not only from our peers, but also from a point of view that what we invested ourselves into is getting some recognition, is just beyond words.
Well, Dave and Brad, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you all the best over the rest of this award season. And to all of our viewers, please like, share, subscribe, and keep going to goldderby.com to make your Oscar nomination predictions in advance of the nominations later this month. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Charlie.